existential issues and how we deal with those. One is population control and population management. Unfortunately, we are still growing at the rate of 2.55%. And then the topic at hand, which is climate change, and how we sort of deal with that, which is indeed the topic of this conference. I do want to start by commending the organizers who have brought a galaxy of practitioners from around the globe to talk about this issue, but not only talk about this issue, because I've always maintained, even on the economy side, that we have known the what and why for the longest time. There's no dearth of policy prescriptions, but ultimately it's about the how and the who. And I sincerely hope that as we go forward, and this two-day conference is going to address some of the operational and the operationalization of the how and who as we go forward. Now, where do we stand today? I was just listening to Justice Mansoor Ali Shah, and I just came in while he was speaking here, and he made some very, very pertinent points. Now, some of the established facts. I'm sure this conference has already attended to that. One of the most vulnerable countries in terms of climate change. Also, while we need to deal with mitigation, the real issue and the bigger issue is adaptation. Now, some of the enabling factors. National Adaptation Plan is in place with the NDCs and everything that a lot of speakers will talk about. The second one is the National Climate Finance Strategy. And I was in Baku with the Minister of Climate Change, where we unveiled this climate finance strategy. And that's where this figure of $348 billion of gap till 2030 sort of came up. We are also very grateful to V20 and that forum in terms of working on a comprehensive climate prosperity plan, which will be, inshallah, unveiled during April. And the last thing I want to mention is the State Bank of Pakistan to issue green taxonomy guidelines. Now, we should have done that some time back, but there I durust aayed. So I think it's okay. Again, it's in the April timeframe because it's very important. What is green? How do you structure? How do you monitor? How do you finance? It's very important that we have a national green taxonomy framework as we go forward. Now, to the topic at this point in time, and for this session around financing. Now, the way I look at it, a few sources. When we talk about the COPs in COP27, Loss and Damage Fund in Sharm el-Sheikh, and it's good to see some level of operationalization coming through in COP29, with about 720 or $730 million in loss and damage fund at least being pledged. Then the Baku finance goal itself, after long deliberations, about $300 billion of commitment in terms of annual outlays. Although, of course, as we all know, the requirement and the ask was at least 3 to 4 times higher than this commitment. Then we have the Green Climate Funds, and if Acumen is here, I think it was very good to see Acumen Climate Action Fund being launched at about $90 million. And then, of course, Green Climate Fund. My only discussion with respect to Green Climate Fund is it just takes a long time. we have bureaucracy here in Islamabad. But I do think the bureaucracy in Manila should think through it because we need to fast track a lot of things. So it's my request and humble request that they should look at their accreditation process and even before we come to the pledges and the disbursements. So that's one big source of what we discuss in various COPs. The second one is the discussion with the MDBs, the multilaterals. So we are very grateful to Asian Development Bank. As you know, at the fag end of last year, they announced $500 million, and climate being a big part of that theme. The second one is what was announced earlier in January around the 10-year country partnership framework with the World Bank Group. And I think it's very important, and I'm very grateful to both multilaterals, certainly the World Bank Group as well, because when I met President Ajay Banga almost a year back during the spring meetings, we talked about many things and where we need World Bank support. And of course, all the project and project financings have always been there. But his point was that if Pakistan can come in with a more focused approach, rather than we want this, this, and that. So we agreed. We agreed on the population side, we agreed on the climate side. And of course, the fiscal side of the equation and the private investment side. So if you look at the 10-year country partnership framework, on the population side, we have child stunting, and we have learning poverty, especially girls after school. And the second thing was around climate resiliency and decarbonization. And so I think we have moved forward in the right way on that front. Of course, another source of funds is international capital markets. I heard Justice Mansoor Ali Shah talking about green bonds. And, Pakistan is not strange to green bonds, because it's only a few years back that WABDA, a parastatal on the utility side, printed a ticket of about $500 million in terms of the green bond. And at that point in time, actually, the book size was 6 times that. That's the kind of appetite which is available if we get our act together in terms of the international capital markets. I'm being told 1 minute left, which is the right thing to do. So then we come to the innovative solutions, which is the development of carbon markets and debt for nature swaps. Again, I heard Justice Mansoor Ali Shah talking about it. But it's very important that we take this whole debt for nature swap out of the distress situations, because we equate it with that someone is in distress, and therefore we need to know. It's a very viable option of moving forward in terms of the financial solutions. The other thing we need to think about is grants versus loans, because loans are loans even if they are concessional because we have to pay them. And the other is foreign exchange versus local currency solutions. The last 2 things I just want to mention is that while we are looking for financing, capacity building in implementation and impact, identification, structuring, monitoring, reporting to international standards in terms of bankable, investable projects. That's what we need. That's where the technical support has to come in. And that's where the private sector has to lead this country. And the public-private partnerships are going to be one of the most critical pillars and enablers in terms of climate finance as we go forward. And the very last thing, when I was there in April of last year, I was asked to join this coalition of finance ministers for climate action. Because the point that was being made there in that forum, that of course it's the ministers of climate change who have to take the lead, but if the ministers of finance who control the purses, who have to think through the repurposing of some of these subsidies, if they don't come on board, this will never go mainstream in terms of budgeting, in terms of how we bring it into our macroeconomic framework. So I'm really looking forward to the deliberations of the most eminent panelists who are sitting here, and I will make some closing remarks after that. I hope I've stayed within 1 minute. Thank you very much.